Hello and welcome to DestinySpeak, where we are talking today in our executive roundtable with Mrs. Elaine Mayfield. We are so glad to have her with us. She is phenomenal, all around person, just all around person. And today we're talking about leadership and making sure that we have making relationships that pay big dividends, huge dividends. And we need relationships that pay huge dividends today because there's just so much going on and so much happening in the workplace and organizations that if those relationships aren't built on a solid foundation, people will just go astray. People will feel lost. People won't feel like they belong, nor will they feel like the organization is committed to them. So today we really want to explore, how do you build those relationships? How do you make sure that not only you're waiting for someone to come to you and build a relationship, but how you as an individual contributor really engage with your leadership. So I'm going to ask Elaine to just introduce herself, share some information about her experience, which is a wealth of experience. She has a former executive at Lockheed. And as she said, we were on the opening, before the opening, they're everywhere and they've been everywhere and she's traveled with them as well. So welcome, Elaine. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you for inviting me, Yvette. Uh, Good afternoon to everyone. I was I started out with RCA. RCA became General Electric. General Electric became Martin Marietta, and then Lockheed Martin. So I was with all these companies for 34 years and never went anywhere. So that was great.
That's
um,
a blessing.
it is a blessing. And I spent my career in uh, procurement. And I started from the bottom up. I worked in the file room and I worked my way up. I enjoyed learning because I came from like initially a teaching background. So I love learning. So I worked my way up, got into compliance, and I love policies and procedures. So from moving from policy to procedures, they were like, oh, you need to be a buyer. So I became a buyer. And then from becoming a buyer, oh, you need to be a leader. I don't know if I really wanted to be a leader, but I knew if I didn't do it, that they would continue to make other people leaders that shouldn't be leaders.
That part.
And I wanted to make a difference in leaders and maybe influence other leaders. And I was feeling my way, but I knew how I wanted to be treated and I knew how I wanted to treat employees. So I had
That's
that great advantage of starting out, you know,
yeah.
working for
and
other.
and that's so important that I think many of us recognize that we have leaders that really truly haven't been prepared for the role and maybe even didn't want it. They just took it by default because they thought that that's the only way they could be elevated in the organization, and many people suffer because of it. So thank you for seeing that there's a need for great leadership and stepping up to that plate.
Yes.
Stepping up to that plate.
I was in a weird position because my corporate position, you don't have like this ridiculous level, but I was responsible for 21 sites reporting to me their small business performance and their compliance. I was responsible for their government audits, assisting them, assuring that they would pass and pass with an outstanding. And
Mhm.
those were vice presidents and directors.
Nice.
And but they respected me because they trusted me and they wanted to get their bonuses.
Right, right,
So,
right.
but that was a weird relationship to develop because I was like one step under them, and
Mhm.
but they never looked at me like, oh, well, you're not a vice president, so
Right.
I don't have to listen to you. They really did look at me as an expert because I was able to identify their areas that needed to be challenged.
Right. So I'm going to ask you this question, but then we'll welcome the people who just joined. So the
Okay.
question is, what do you think was core in your gaining that respect, even before you have the position, right? Because some people think the position will bring me the respect, but really, there's some different character traits and things like that that we can have that lead people to respecting us, right? So
Right.
Donna and Daniel, welcome to the conversation. Um, we've kicked it off with our guest Elaine, and we have Pam here and
Right.
Monica's there. And so and everyone, if you have anything you want to chime in or ask questions, this is a conversation. So just put it in the chat and we'll get those comments and questions answered. So Elaine, what do you think was the secret sauce to you really gaining that respect before you were in the position?
Right. A lot of times it's doing your homework. And for me, I've always been an advocate of relationships. I don't know any strangers. So, coming from a big family, it was easy for me to pretty much talk to anyone at any level. You know, I was always taught that the person that empties your trash in your office is just as important as the CEO. And I treat them all the same. I love the person that emptied my trash because I can't stand the smell of banana peel. So we had a wonderful relationship. So it was all about building that relationship, what their interests were, what were they trying to accomplish. Um, for the other folks that I had to assure them that I was going to help them reach their goals, I wanted them to know they were more interested in what was the what did the president want us to do. So they felt like I had insight to what the CEO of the corporation wanted us to achieve. And they wanted to be, because all the sites are competitive. We want to be able to do this. We want to be able to do that. So when I would attend those meetings, I was free with information. Some things you can't say, but I was free with information that said, hey, this is what they're focusing on. This is where their target is. If you can create more long-term agreements with a small disadvantaged business, or if you can get an outstanding on your this is how you get that visibility, and this is how you move your business into where you know you're getting the attention that you would like to get. And a lot of times it worked because I'm like, hey, and the spending time going to visit their site, walking around, and then you begin to pick up ideas of, hey, did you ever consider this? Did you ever consider that? Um, and they were like, no, I would love to do that. Who else is doing that? So I would explain, oh, this site is doing this site is doing that. And then I would have an annual meeting, which they didn't have. I had an annual meeting of all 20 sites, 21 leaders coming together, and we would have this big meeting, and they would get to present their accomplishments, um, things that they were doing, their initiatives, their strategic plan. And it was usually 2 days, and it was an incredible. It became brainstorming. It was in a brainstorming event, sharing of information, and folks that normally did not talk were exchanging numbers. And I was free to, I was the type of leader that I was free to say, yeah, you guys fly out to Dallas. We could do it. Go out. What? I've never been able to go out to Dallas and do benchmarking. Yeah, yeah. Go, let's go out there. When do you want to go? So empowering them to be, you know, not be locked into just their site
Now,
was a big deal.
did you have to like kind of fight their battles for them? Like, because obviously this was something new that people were being able to go and do things that they weren't used to doing before. And sometimes as a leader, while we're empowering, we also have to justify to other leaders why this is important. So how did that play out for you?
Well, that's true. That's a very good question because many times you need to find one leader. Once again, they want to set the precedent. They want to be, it's competitive. It's competitive, you know? So they want to be the one to say, oh, I let my person go to blah, blah, blah. We have, because they're all trying to save money as well. But if
Hmm.
there's a benefit and then you see where the numbers have turned and there's
Right,
improvement in performance, all you need is one. Then they
right.
start to get on board. And then they're asking, will you go and talk to? Sure. I'll set up a conference call and talk to your leader. And once you state that and put that information out there, do they all buy it? No.
Hmm.
But guess what? They see the proof is in the pudding.
Right.
And then they slowly come around.
Now, did you one of the questions that I was asked or pulled into conversations about with leaders, especially during COVID, was how do we get past this apathy thing? Because people just didn't want to do anything. Some of them didn't even want to really come to work or really push anymore. So, as a leader and building those relationships, did you ever run it? And I know you weren't leading during COVID, but did you ever have to really encourage somebody like, you really need to do this? You really need to become visible. Because I think some people are okay with, I'm coming, I'm going to do my job, and that's it.
Yes,
How do you
because I
encourage someone to grow and to really expand or to even do more in where they are?
I would meet with my team members and it depended on their level. Um, level like a level one, entry level, we met every week because I want to make sure that they're learning the basics and that their buddy was really pouring into them. Level two, we would meet every week, but sometimes it was like, oh, we don't need to meet because we're already doing metric meetings, we're already doing program meetings and all those other things that they might be involved in. So I kind of have an idea of where their focus is. Level threes, that I don't hold your hand anymore, but I would meet with you monthly. Level fours and level five, like those, I mean, level fours, upper, more independent. I would pretty much didn't meet with them as often, but was definitely monthly. And
Mm,
I would sketch out how the first meeting would be. How are you doing? I have your metrics here. This looks like it was a little challenging area. Where can I help you? Do you need this? Do you need that? Don't view my help as I'm thinking you can't perform the job. I want you to learn how to ask me, and I'm going to ask you questions because I believe in reverse mentoring. So,
mm.
where I'm helping you as your leader, guess what? I don't know how to do this on my computer, or I don't know how to work this phone. They know how to do all of that. So, they like the fact that there was an exchange so that we continue. I like to create an even playing field. So,
Mm,
people, if you wanted to meet more than once a month, then you can meet more than once a month. After those initial meetings where I'm driving the conversation and the dialogue, they start to drive the conversation and the dialogue. What is it that you want to do? We don't even have to talk about your work. What do you want to do in 5 years? Are you sick of doing this? Do you like doing this? How can we improve what we're doing? People are, relationships are strong when they realize you're listening. Many times I
mm,
would listen to my employees and then go into a staff meeting and said, I learned the most wonderful thing. And this is what we're going to do with this from now on. And that idea was brought to me by Susan or Carol or Bill or Jim. And I give them credit where credit is due. When I go to executive meetings, I'll say, we've implemented this new process, which still aligns with our standard policies and procedures, but it has allowed us to streamline or do this or do that. And that person that brought that to me on my team, I'm so proud to say, is such and such. If you see them in the hallway, congratulate them and tell them. And you may want to incorporate that with your team. I love to share that type of information. And I would tell my team, my goal is to find somebody to sit in my seat. Now, you may not want to sit in my seat, but I need to know what it is that you're interested in. And I am interested. So they found a lot of leaders did not want to spend that time of talking to them about what their interests are, or saying, I don't know.
Right.
So let's figure it out. Let's look at the things that you're good at. What do you excel? What do you do well? And that became a kind of like a career path or plan. So they
That's
enjoyed those.
amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. And so you are a gem, as I already knew.
I loved it.
But and I think that's a key to it, right? You have to love serving people. You have to love seeing people grow. You have to love seeing people really shine and excel in order to really approach leadership in the way that you did. There's some comments saying, yes, you're empowering, you're a role model. Our employees need to know we value their input. So it's like, why do you think some leaders don't do that? Why do you think some leaders are as not as engaged with their folks, but yet expecting their folks to be engaged?
I think some leaders are not meant to be leaders. I think they get promoted because they did well in a job. I think they got promoted because they did well in a job. They brought home the bacon. They did what they were supposed to do. The numbers all looked well, and nobody says, "Hey, dude, you're great at what you do, but your personality, woo, is much to be desired." They won't do that.
Right.
They won't do that. And I like to put people in positions that they are going to, some people like, I just want to sit here, do my computer, not really, you know, socialize or whatever, or not really communicate with people. There's a job for those people. You
Right.
know, I'll come out when it's time for meetings. I'll do this and I do that, but I love just me and my cubicle. There's a place for those people. There's other ones that you see excel, and they will, those are the ones that you start tugging on
Right.
and pushing and pushing. And you can even push the person on the computer. Hey, is there a program that will do this and calculate this and create this? Yeah. Oh, can I work on that? Absolutely. Hey, I had this idea. So some people are not meant to be leaders. They got there because they got promoted, and they don't like people.
Yeah. People are chiming in and saying that that's a great answer and that it's true. Some people aren't meant to be leaders, yet they're finding themselves in those places. I'm going to just open it up because we've been talking about how leaders can build relationships. Before we switch gears to how does an individual contributor build a relationship with their leader, because sometimes we find ourselves in a relationship with a leader that is maybe not a great leader or is new to it and is trying to feel their ways. But before we switch there, anybody here want to chime in on the conversation around or what some of the comments that Elaine's made around how a leader should build a strong relationship, other than what you put in the comments? You can come off mute.
Hi, I'm Pam.
Hi.
Such a great conversation. I love it. I love it.
Oh, great.
When I was promoted to chief of staff of this insurance firm after 28 years, well, at that point, 25 years being there, when I became a leader, I found that listening and being very authentic with who I was so important for the other people, especially because of the longevity on the team, right? But hiring a coach, an executive coach, to help me understand how to be the best leader was very beneficial to me, and being able to offer not only for myself but for other people on the team that wanted to grow in what this next relationship was all about. So I align a lot with everything that you're saying. So thank you for sharing, because it's really powerful because you're right. Not everybody is meant to be a leader.
And you know, the other thing I'm hearing, thank you, Pam, for sharing that. And the other thing I'm hearing is I hear a lot of leaders say, I just don't have time to do that. I don't have time to invest in my people. I don't have time to really see where I can build them up. And they're looking for time. I don't, what do you say about that, Elaine?
You have to make the time. I'm the type that I made it look like I just had free time all day. I didn't. I, I didn't. I did the walk arounds, the bed checks, oh, I thought you were going to this concert this weekend. How did it work out? Oh, I never heard of that group or something like that. Or I'll say, well, inbox me I am me, the name of that group. I'm going to listen to them. And they're laughing because they know I'm a gospel singer. They're like, you're not going to like this. But I took an interest, and I'll say, I listened to that group. It wasn't bad. Their musical arrangements were kind of dicey. It was spicy. It was, they just love the fact that I took the time. But your question, I think I got away from it. What was your question? I'm sorry.
Time, because people think
you
it
gotta
takes
take
so much more extra time
right.
to really care for the people. And
right.
so I know you have a husband and all that kind of stuff. I can't imagine that you were taking so much time away from him to do all this. So,
well, as leaders, you have to take time management classes. They sent us to, we received coaches. We had a coach. We had mentors. We had to coach. We had to mentor. So in addition to my job, I had to mentor people outside of my organization because of favoritism. You can't mentor someone within your organization. But because I was at that level, I had to coach. I had to mentor other people and develop them. So I made that time by organizing my priorities, figuring out where my fires are. Usually I didn't have a lot of fires. Organizing, and by empowering my team, they would come to me and say, remember that thing we couldn't solve? I figured it out. Oh, who do we need to get together? We would call a quick meeting, and boom. And then I was always celebrating them. We resolved this huge problem that we couldn't resolve before. Yes, I would delegate. And we would resolve. And next thing you know, we were celebrating something big. Next thing you know, we were getting the visibility of a VP or a president, and they were celebrating the team, because I was all about my team getting the visibility they needed, because they were brilliant people. And my team was one of the most plucked teams. They would come and pluck out of my team.
Yeah.
And I was the type of leader that I didn't want to lose them, but I wanted them to grow. Somebody wanted me to grow. Mm-hmm. So right. I was okay. They felt nice enough. Let's say they were nice enough to say, Elaine, I really want this guy on my team. And guess what? Yeah, I was kind of a mama bear. If I find out that you're mistreating them, because they come from a great team, they're not going to want to leave.
Right.
They are growing. They are getting promoted. They are getting to go to those trainings that they suggest and that they want, that they feel will improve them in their job. Can they go to everything? No. But they do get the opportunities. And I give everybody the opportunity in my meetings. Also, one thing, because people love to say you're showing favoritism and things like that. In a meeting, when I'm asking for metrics, you'll get somebody that gets defensive, as a leader. They didn't do their homework. You get somebody who says, oh, I gave that to John. Nope. Accountability. Everybody's got to be accountable. Don't put it on John. Then you should have went to John's desk and asked John where it was.
Right.
Because you were coming into this meeting. Someone will say, I'll get back to you. They didn't do their homework. Someone else will give you all the answers and more. The team will see these are the people that get the exceptionals. These are the people that get the great ratings, because I put it out there. I'm asking these questions. I'm getting the answers. It's just like school.
Yeah.
I know the answer. 1 + 1 is 2. Billy, what's 3 + 5? I'll get back to you.
Right.
They see it publicly. So it's not a big challenge when their rating doesn't represent their what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think what I'm hearing loud and clear is you make leading your people and your people a forethought. Your people were a priority to you, and you just incorporated their needs, their growth in everything that the team was doing along the way. Sometimes, if people think about their team as an afterthought or just a means to the end, then it's not as natural just through the natural course of doing business to really incorporate their interests, their concerns, and to let people know I didn't do this on my own. I can't tell you, I've been in that situation where our team did the work, and then in a meeting with senior leaders, someone took the credit for the work and we did the work. That's not cool. But when you can really incorporate the entire team effort, and to your point, have everyone be accountable, because they can, and you've demonstrated and modeled really well. I'm going to let you shine just like everybody else. I'm going to make sure everybody knows who contributed to this as well. Then, and it's just a normal course of doing business. It's just a normal course of how you get your goals met. That is phenomenal. That is phenomenal. Um, Pam is saying, I love that taking interest in their lives will build a successful team. We can't take the time because ultimately it will be so much more successful. So let's switch the conversation over to I'm an individual contributor. I'm a member of the team. How do I build a relationship with my leader? Because we can't all just wait, nor should we, for someone to tap us on the shoulder and say, here's an opportunity. But how do I, as a individual, really build that relationship with my leader?
Stephen Covey had a course, manage the manager or something like that, manage your leader or know your leader. And I was grateful and I was blessed to go to that course. One of the things I learned is even if that person is not meant to be a leader, they have things that they want to achieve. If you're achieving those things, then you can chip into the personal piece of that person. Um, for individual contributors, a lot of times that's why I initiate the meetings. But if if you have a leader that doesn't initiate the meeting, you initiate the meeting. Hey, can I get just 10 minutes of your time? You know, then they at least start seeing you. The millennials just want to know that you see them.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, they graduate from great colleges. They did well. They have an engineering degree or whatever. But do you see me? I
Mm-hmm.
like to go water rafting. My girlfriend's name is Jane. I like to ski, you know, and because we have flex hours, I knew my people's schedules. That's important. I even tried, like, even when we had audits, we have this audit. Hey, Gabe, you know that you're going to be in Colorado. Let's figure out how we can manage that because you're a valuable person to the team and you're integral to the audit.
Mm.
Oh, I've already got that figured out. When they know that they know that you think that they're important, they think before you. And if you're a leader that says, with those assimilations, we had leader assimilations. I like this. I like that. Um, I don't like being blindsided. They knew that that was one of my challenges or weaknesses as a leader. If I'm blindsided, I feel like I'm backpedaling. They knew I liked people to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know the answer, don't tell me the day it's due. Tell me 3 or 4 days or a week. Maybe we can figure out another solution.
Right.
You know, I always kind of told them what my pet peeves were. So then they could work around it. I found out from my team because they finally got up the nerve. I think I'm a pretty nice person, but they said when I would go like this in a meeting over my glasses, they said they got scared.
Mm.
And I said, well, now you're learning my body language, which is really important. That meant, I don't know if I believe what I'm seeing or hearing. Once they knew that, it cracked them up, but they knew they had to come prepared. Also, in meetings, we would
Right.
do we would pick a word. I would do something fun and pick a word before we go into the meeting. It could be hairbrush. And we're in the meeting, we're talking about schematics and this and that and engineering and parts and, aircraft parts and all this stuff. And someone would have to use hairbrush in a sentence. And the whole team would just bust out laughing because they would figure out a way. So even though the meeting was serious, our business is serious, you've got to bring some. We're going to be here. I tell them all, we're going to be here a long time. We're going to be here the rest of our lives. We're going to be working. We might as well make it fun. We might as well enjoy ourselves. We might as well have a good time. And my team, if you
Exactly.
asked any one of them today, and I've been retired 4 years now, they would say, what is Elaine's goal? Elaine's goal was to sit on her couch. Elaine's goal was to get to her couch.
That's
Because
awesome.
my goal was not to be better than them or to shine better than them. My goal was to make sure that they shine and that they were equipped and they had the tools to move forward when Elaine went to her couch.
That's awesome. Suzanne is saying she tells people to assume the best in their boss, even if they don't show their best side. Treat them with respect and ask their advice. They really just want to be valued. So even our bosses want to be valued, right? And
It works
there's
both
the
ways.
man in the middle, right? Or the woman in the middle that's stuck. And so they might be getting dumped on, and then they've got to deal with you and everything. And so it's like they're feeling like, where do I get relief? Where do I
Right.
get? And
Right.
so if we come to them and really look to help them as well, because as I succeed, they succeed, then it's just a better relationship. And to your point, because I think Donna mentioned too that she thought it was cool that they could say to you about even the fact that they knew what this meant, right? And, you know, because all of our leaders have some kind of trait that we'll know, like, I'm gonna back up over this, or you know what I mean, but not the freedom to speak
Yeah.
to it. That's different. That's a whole nother level of leadership. That's a whole nother level of relationship that you built with those folks, that they could be free and they know it was a safe space. And I talk about this often,
Yes.
that we need to create safe spaces. I think I need to plug in. Pam mentioned learning your leader communication style and your goals, and love the looking out. She loved the looking over the eyeglass. Yeah. I used to people used to on my team, they used to know that if I did like this, it was not good.
It's not good.
Uh, so let's talk about there's some, and you mentioned this because Elaine mentors still a lot of folks. You can imagine just by hearing how she's sharing that people don't want to let her go, right? But she's hearing a lot of people feeling, or some people feeling like they're being used by their leaders. Just get the work done. I don't care about who you are. I don't care about what you do, blah, blah. So can you share more around that? I'm going to plug in my laptop while you do that.
Okay. Quick story. I had a young man, and we're friends today. Um, Young man on my team getting married, one of my key people. And he came in for his regular meeting. And I said, hey, we're not going to talk about this stuff today. What do you mean? I said, aren't you getting married? He goes, yes. I said, didn't your fiance give you a list? He said, yes. How did you know about the list? I said, I'm a female. I said, you have responsibilities on that list for the wedding. I said, what did she give you? Where's the list? He pulls up his phone, I'm supposed to pick the 5 bands and then we're supposed to go listen to them. I'm supposed to schedule it and I'm supposed to get my guys gifts and all this stuff. And trust me, he would not be upset by me telling this story. He's like one of my children now. So I said, you've got 2 weeks. When we come back and meet next week, that list better be done. Actually, I want it done before we meet. And don't go telling your fiance that I made you do the list. I want you to get the credit. She's going to be like, what an incredible man. I love him so much. Oh, I'm marrying the right guy. And he's cracking up laughing. But I said, and is she stressed out? Oh, she's really stressed out. I said, go to the dollar store, get a pretty little gift bag. What's her favorite candy? She loves M&Ms. Put her medicine in there. Put some M&Ms in there. I said, because that's our medicine. M&Ms are our medicine. Put that in there. Put something else in there. Because I know you're putting this together. I know you're doing the majority of the work. I said, and don't say I told you to do it. He did the other things. And he got a high score. But he comes into work with a thank you card from the fiance to me. He told me that you. I said, live and learn eventually. But that's how honest, I said, but I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to get you, ahead of the curve. But many times it's just, you just have to really know, watch them. I watch people. I'm a people watcher. And I can kind of pick up on what they like, what they don't like, what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy. And that kind of helped me with,
Yeah. And I think too often leaders get just heads down and busy, and I get it. There's many demands on your time. There's many people coming at you and things like that. One of the things I also find is be in the moment. Be in that moment when you're with someone so that they know you're not just interested in my metrics. You're not just interested in me completing this task or this assignment, but you're really interested in me. Even if you're talking about the assignment, you talk about what they did really well, how this is going to really contribute to the outcome, because then that's letting them know that I see you. I see you even in the work, right? So some of these things, I think, we think so compartmentally sometimes, and we think, oh, I gotta just be head this, I gotta do this. But if we really start thinking across, a lot of this can be really integrated into your everyday, just normal behavior. And the next thing you know, you'll have people running after you and wanting to work on your team like they were running after Elaine. And things like that. So we have a couple more questions. We wanted to talk about, how do you expand your relationships beyond your immediate circle? Because sometimes that can be beneficial too. You might not have opportunities on your team or in that immediate work environment, but there could be other opportunities, and not necessarily that you're looking to move or take another job. And I'll use myself for an example, especially when I found out my love for change management, right? Well, I do change management. I was doing it on my team, but I really wanted to teach people about it and things like that. So I reached out to the training teams that were doing change management training. And I say, look, if you ever need somebody to help co-facilitate or bring in the day-to-day experiences in this, I'll sign up as long as my work allows it. And it really, one, it helps you get your CDUs, which you need to
Yes.
maintain that certificate. But it also gave me a viewpoint across the entire enterprise, how change management is being used. So, but I built those relationships up. I went and found those experts who were doing what I wanted to do, right? And so, how have you seen it helpful for people to build relationships outside of their immediate circle?
It is exactly as you said. I kind of had like a Forrest Gump uh, career life. So being in the job that I was in, which was I've always been in procurement, and then being in executive meetings, the the presidents or directors, I would get a phone call. I want you to lead diversity and inclusion. Huh? I have my own job. So I ended up leading diversity and inclusion as well as having my regular job. And that was bringing other people together. So what that did is that brought in people from other organizations, right? The working organizations. And we had a blast and we forged such great friendships. And we not only did we plan events for the plant, but it gave us an opportunity where they were not excelling in their jobs. Hey, can I sit down and talk with you? Or do you know what? So and so is looking for another person, and you'd be really good for this. So we became a networking as well as, you know, doing what we were supposed to do in diversity and inclusion, having events, making people aware of the different, whether it was Hispanic, Black History Month, all of those different things, um, Asian, Pan Asian, LGBTQ plus. We did it all, but it created these other relationships that these were brilliant people working in. If I had something where they were blaming my organization, I would reach out to someone in my, hey, don't you work in blah blah blah, did you know that I'm having an issue with, and I just really think we can get all the right people together, but I'm having a hard time breaking through that. Can you break through that for me, or be, and that's what happened. um Being in other organizations, joining organizations that are like community within the corporation helps.
Yeah, that's good because a lot of times the projects or the work that we're doing could get stopped because we don't have the right connections in the related group or the affiliated groups, and we haven't built those relationships. But we can get
Right.
our work moving faster if we build those relationships outside
Yes,
of
yes,
that
yes.
organization. And again, I want to stress to every listener, you don't have to wait for your leader to do it. You become more valuable if you go out there and you're building, and it could be just because you're playing softball together, or you guys play soccer, or you're on a cards team together, and now you know a resource, and something comes up in your organization that is really like, oh man, I don't know how we're going to get it, and we need this other group to come on board with us, and you have that contact. Hey, now you're the hero of the team because now you can build that contact and get us
Yes.
in there.
It
Um,
pays to not know a stranger, to not to have, not to be, nobody's a stranger. I
mm,
have met ladies in the ladies' room, and we talk about perfume, makeup, and go into a meeting and they say, we really need this done, but we've got to get, oh, if we don't get Mary Beth she's a tough one. If we don't get her to come on board, and I'm like, who's Mary Beth? And come to find out, she was a lady I met in the ladies' room talking about makeup. So I call her up. Hey, we just met, but I need da 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 da. They say you're a tough cookie. Let me tell you everything they said. You know your job, and they say that you are not going to go for this. But let me tell you why it's important.
mm.
You still may not agree with me, but just let me tell you, I love to meet other strong, empowered women, and I get it. But let me say, we really need to do this because boom, 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 boom. Well, Elaine, who do I need to call? I haven't been presented all that information. Oh, get back to such, but you didn't hear it from me. And next thing you know, they're like, oh, she came back and she said blah, 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 blah. Or she'll say, oh, I met Elaine and we talked about, and I mean, believe me, I'm not the hero or the solution, but just taking the time, talking to people in the cafeteria line, you never know who they are. Talking to people in the bathroom, you never know who they are. So
that's right. I want to open it up to everyone can come off of their mute if they like, and just let's ask questions. Let's just chime in our last few minutes here together. This has been awesome, Elaine. Thank you so much. You just presented how building relationships in a most positive way can be tremendous to not only the organization but to an individual. And how you explained it, those relationships do pay huge dividends, because like you said, you're still in relationship with those folks today. And life still happens outside of that workplace.
Yes.
Suzanne, you came off on mute.
Yeah, I mean, Elaine, thank you. You just are a role model of how it should be rather than what it feels like in general, I think, for people. And it's just great. And I think the fact that one of the things you talked about was having the infrastructure, having in these companies where it gives the employees the opportunity and permission. In fact, it's what they're supposed to do, to connect with other people. So that's so important. And I was just going to say, in terms of networking, it's so funny because it reminds me a little bit of when you're young and, you are going to be with this crowd or you're going to be with that crowd, like.
Right.
You know how that is, right? I don't even have to the names of the different kinds of crowds. But so we don't know that it's okay, or we don't even know how to go about and to talk to the people in this other group and that other group. And I've seen that so many times where people don't network. And I think that, again, they need to know this is why they're going to these meetings and what they should try to do. So a good leader helps them to figure that out. I mean, it's just, I could go on. There's so much you brought up.
Yeah, and to your point, Suzanne, some people think it's threatening to network, right?
Yes.
I can't talk to that group because we kind of do the same thing, or we, or whatever. And it's like, no, I mean, the whole world is out there for everybody, and everyone can't reach the whole world. And so if we partner together, if we collaborate more, then we're going to achieve a whole lot more, because we can do more together than we can separate. So anybody else wanted to add anything? Or I know that Daniel said Elaine is phenomenal. I agree.
Thank you.
I can say one more thing, because you asked, why would leaders not ask? And I know as a leader, sometimes I'm afraid of what people are going to tell me. Mm-hmm. So I know there's a lot of that, insecurity, maybe they're not doing a good job. And so they don't want to know that people are disappointed in you.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I had a young lady that years ago, she came into my office. She's just crying. And I think it's important that leaders do this. She's crying. She's brilliant. Hi, Daniel. She's brilliant. She's in my office crying. I said, what's the matter? What's going on? She says, I really messed up. I really messed up. I should have did this with this and this with this. And I said, okay, I'm not trying to, diminish your tears, but hold on. Let me show you something. And you know how you have folders or whatever, files of your employees. Back then you had folders. I pull out this big wad of paperwork. She goes, what is that? I said, this is your folder. These are all your kudos. These are all your fantastics. These are all, you think I'm upset about one? Are you crying for you? Are you crying for me? You think I'm going to be upset? I said, for all the thousands of things that you've done right. And we don't tell people. We have to tell people. We don't tell them. It can't just be in your head. For all the
That's right.
thousands of things that you've done right, I can't be upset about this one thing. Is it going to cost us millions? Might. Let's see how we can minimize that. But it's one thing. It's one.
Mm.
And the tears dried up. That's why I don't have tissues in my office. Don't come in here crying. We can fix it. I have screwed up some things. Trust me. So we can fix anything. And that's what I always tell them. We can fix it. Don't be afraid to come in here. But if you don't come in here, it's going to really stink. And then I'll be upset. But she was like, I didn't know. I didn't know that it's not that I'm keeping tabs on you, but I didn't know. I said, I'm not going to collect all the negative things. I'm collecting all the positive things. All the positive things. So I kept a kudo folder, and then I encouraged my teams to keep their own kudo folder. And when you go in for your review, take your kudo folder with you. Mine was yellow. And I would take that folder in there, and my manager knew what that kudo folder. And if it was filled with thank yous and perks and, awards from engineering or programming or manufacturing or whatever, I took my kudo folder in there because that was I was confident that I was doing a great job. And there's no way that my kudos were less than anything that I might have messed up or missed. There's no way.
Yeah, and that goes along with what Suzanne said about growth mindset, because like you said, you are confident that what you did well, and we also know when we mess up a little bit, but we own that too. But we have to also own the best stuff about us, and we don't do that.
We don't want to do that.
Enough.
Right.
We focus too much on the negative stuff. Yes. Daniel, you wanted to share something.
Okay, thank you, Yvette, for organizing this. And by the way, Elaine, you are phenomenal. You are really out of this world.
Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. Okay, so by the way, I just wanted to make a note on the networking thing. I know a lot of us feel insecure to network and maybe to approach people who are like up, higher, much higher on the ladder, something like that. But I'm a ghostwriter. I'm a professional ghostwriter for Distinctive Voices. I'm also a brand ambassador for COA. But here's what I'm gonna say. I did through this thing I approached like some 3 very phenomenal individuals. One was Cake Antonio Jimenez. Is a 2-time Emmy Award winner, and so he became my mentor, and a former ESPN anchor. He became my mentor, and we have a collaboration now. I'm based in South Africa. Another one is a guy who wrote a book. There's Jimmy Britt and Kevin Harrington. I ended up doing a ghostwriting for a project that was endorsed by Tony Robbins, not knowing it was going to be so, just because of being forthcoming, like overcoming that fear of networking, So I'm just saying, I'm just trying to your point, to add that if we are forthcoming in networking, not waiting for opportunities to fall on our lap, just sitting on our laurels. If we are forthcoming, I think a lot of good things can happen, can come out of that as well. So thank you.
So true. Thank you. That's incredible.
Thank you, Daniel, for joining us from South Africa.
Wow.
Thank you.
So we're going to wrap up. This has been all that I had hoped it would be, this conversation, because I think everything is based on the type of relationships we build and how we approach those relationships. To Daniel's point, if we're approaching it from a fearful perspective, then that's going to play out in how we interact with our teams. If I'm an individual contributor, if I'm approaching it from fearful of my leader, that's going to impact my relationship with that leader. So we have to try to get to that growth mindset and to be willing to be authentic and really be curious about the people who we're around.
Yes.
And if we can be curious about them, not simply because of the work we have to get done, but because individuals matter, which is the first chapter in my book, No Bosses Allowed, Lead to Serve and Transform. Individuals matter. Who they are, the communities they come from, what they do, what they like, where they want to go, how they want to grow. Even if you don't have capacity in your space for them to grow, there's capacity for them to win at some of what they want to do in your space. And you both win when we allow them to do that. So I want to thank everybody who attended. I'm going to see these last two messages. Thank you, everyone. And we will be planning the first quarter executive round table. So if you have any ideas around a topic or anything, if you happen to watch the replay, please let us know your thoughts and your questions. We'll make sure we'll get them to Elaine. And Suzanne, I think you had something you wanted to share.
I did.
Oh, I saw the hand go up.
No, that was just a clap.
Oh, got you. So Elaine, tell us where people can find you, what you're doing now. I know how they can connect with you, how you want us to remember you.
Oh, wow. Well, I've been singing all my life. So even though believe it or not, I am shy, but my ability to have a presence, so to speak, has come through being in the church and singing. So currently, I have co-partnered with Catrice Cornett, who's an incredible human being. We have THSA Records, The Holy Spirit Abides, and it is a gospel recording record label. So we are looking for artists 35 and above to help them achieve their dreams. You know, even if it's something that you want to leave a legacy, if it's something you want to, you're on your bucket list. So we are available for that. And also, the company that I work for spent thousands and thousands of dollars sending me to all kinds of classes and getting all kinds of certifications. So I do that for free. I mentor for free, and I coach. I help with interviewing, resume, rewriting, all that kind of stuff, because I feel like everybody deserves that opportunity. Someone did it for me, so I want to give back. So I enjoy mentoring and coaching and just giving advice on situations. And I love conflict, resolving unusual conflicts. I love that type of thing. And it just excites me to solve and resolve. So that's
And
basically
Elaine
it.
makes incredible jewelry.
Oh, and I make jewelry. That's my therapy.
She makes incredible jewelry out of
Thank you.
glass and all that kind of stuff. Incredible jewelry. So she's a multifaceted lady, and I'm glad to know her and love on her, and we need more leaders like her. And so I'm glad she's pouring into the next generation and those who are still leading, as well as everyone on this call. I know you all from how well you've led and are leading today. And let's continue to have the momentum where we're pouring into other leaders so people don't have to suffer at one, trying to be a leader, or two, being led by someone who is not being in their best position because they don't have the support. So thank you, everybody. If you have ideas for the first quarter or second quarter, we're planning 2024, drop them. You know where to find me. Elaine is on Facebook, on LinkedIn,
Instagram,
so you can find her there if you want to connect and follow all her musical stuff. She didn't tell you, but she has also new music coming out for herself, CDs and things like that. So see, people don't tell everything.
I know. I'm like,
but she is a phenomenal singer. She's requested to sing all over the country. So I'm just grateful that she's been brought into my life. And thank you all. And until next time, have a fantastic, fantastic week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Elaine.
You're welcome. That was
That
so
was
fun.
awesome.
I was
That-
nervous, but it was great.
You were great. You were great. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.